Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show on this Thursday. And what a song that has just played for you. One that teaches you to keep time in case you are to make that life-changing decisions. One thing about Ugandans or Africans, but let me speak for Ugandans whose experience I have the most, is that we are not so good at time and we get so complacent about it. So much so that we even say, Africans don't keep time, and we normalize it, yet it's so not normal. It should not even be normal at all. But that particular song could be a love song, but 25 minutes too late led that man to lose the love of his life. What are you losing in life that is the most life-changing decision of your life? Because of not managing your time. That is a food for thought for you. But good morning, it's Good Morning Uganda. You are watching UBC TV. My name is Julie Nantaba Mosisi, and as always with Robert Chirabo Nyonyi Tono. Now, our neighbor Kenya 254 is at it. We are praying for peace in Kenya, but yesterday, 25th of June, was the day they commemorated a year since the strikes. Gen Zs hit the streets last year to strike and protest against different government policies at that time. Now, during last year, during the protests, about 60 people lost their lives, but even then, in commemoration, Gen Zs hit the street to remember their mates who passed away. And at the end of the day, it was reported by Amnesty, the arm of Kenya, that about 16 people had lost their lives and to the hands of the police. Now, one thing I must say, I think, Robert, if you ask me, this President Ruto will, this is one of the events President Ruto will never forget in his regime, the strikes and the protests from the younger generation. But good morning, how are you?
Oh, good morning to you, and of course our viewer. Thank you very much for waking up with us this lovely Thursday. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy because I know you're watching us wherever you are. Now, as far as things happening in Kenya, the riots, there's one thing that I always ask myself. Even in the first riots,
Yeah.
the things Kenyans do that you can never do in Uganda, even when you're rioting.
Yeah, true.
Sister, I've been watching some of the footage coming in there.
My highlight from the footage is a young lady who jumped over an electric fence, like as if she was having a javelin.
Into State House, assumably, to get in there. Police officers being beaten, running away. I don't know how best to explain that, but if you do such a risk in Uganda, you live to tell, or even in the United States, recently when they had
Or
riots,
even in Rwanda.
yeah, but the United States, I was shocked. I think I'll get his name before the show ends. When he came out and said, you throw a stone, well, prepare where they'll find you.
Right.
So there is something I don't understand in Kenya. But I want to talk about something that is beginning to worry me here in Uganda as well. Now, the Bararo in northern Uganda, let me use that word. Yesterday we saw President Museveni sign that is Executive Order 2 regarding the unplanned and sometimes indisciplined movement of Bararo. Now, these people are given an ultimatum to vacate northern Uganda. The president has also issued an executive order, but the determination they have not to leave, the determination they have not to leave, and some of the words their leaders are using. This you're calling for genocide. Supposing we find people in northern Uganda and western Uganda, they're so determined not to leave northern Uganda. And I don't know, with this executive order, the MPs of the area have called, the people have called. Actually, some wanted to deliver a petition yesterday to the Speaker of Parliament, but they were denied entry to Parliament. Now, I'm getting worried day by day. What may befall these people in case they choose not to leave, yet all is clear. One said, we've invested so much in northern Uganda, so we can't go. Others claim they own the land. I wish I could meet some of their leaders, because their facts maybe they have, but we don't have right. But when you speak, at least I've spoken to residents, leaders in northern Uganda, they tell you, no, these are all false allegations. But of course, when you have one side of the coin,
you
don't have the other, you can't have a conclusion. But what I've seen so far, is the determination that they are having not to leave, despite all pressure for them to leave. Then on a lighter note, the campaigns are going to be interesting.
Very interesting.
Have you heard of this name? That is Wasukira Anthony. This man is campaigning to become the MP in Mbale Industrial City, but I think it's the height of this table. A very interesting character. So there was a burial yesterday in his area, and when the height surfaced, I know if Ruben met him, but I just enjoyed the humor around him. He's very, very, very short,
right.
I must say. Even has, I think, a kind of a baby face, but he wants to be an MP, and he's garnered. I don't know if people are doing it for humor or really they feel he can represent them. So I'm following him. I'm also enjoying his moves. And the first time I thought, is this a young kid that is, you know? Wow. But later I discovered, no, he's a man above 20 plus, and he's ready to contest. Winning depends on the people of Mbale city. Very
true indeed. And on the issue of Balalo, I think I would say that one thing for sure is our president has had values that he has stood for in all his statements, values that he has that have been his foundation in whatever decision he has made for the country. And I believe with the executive orders he has signed, it's still with the same values that were his foundation as he made that decision, and as he went to the bush and ended up becoming the president of Uganda.
These ones don't seem to be moving anywhere.
Well, we'll see. At least we'll see. His foundation is always the determinant of everything, and for us, as we always try to joke with our president, we're here as UBC TV to bring you the stories as they unfold and all the information and facts as they unfold for you and for Uganda. But let's have a look at what is on the local scene.
Well, let me start with the Balalo story.
Right.
Here where we see President Museveni, with immediate effect, banned the presence of Balalo in the respective areas and directed the Attorney General to draft a law that criminalizes the unsanctioned nomadic practice of the cattle herders. The President Museveni, in his executive order number 2 regarding the unplanned and sometimes indisciplined movement of Balalo cattle herders in northern Uganda, eastern and northern west parts of Uganda, has described their movement as primitive, spreading of land misuse and disrupting the indigenous communities by free-ranging livestock eating up their crops. Meanwhile, Balalo cattle herders in northern Uganda, under the umbrella Northern Uganda Commercial Farmers Association, have petitioned Parliament over the proposed eviction of the non-compliant herdsmen known as Balalo in northern Uganda. They claim that evictions must follow lawful procedures, including court orders, notice and compensation, if applicable, and verification of land ownership in the region before eviction. You see them going soon. Moving on now, the National Resistance Movement is set to start giving out interest forms to the Central Executive Committee SEC members for nominations who intend to contest the chairperson of the NRM Electoral Commission. Dr. Tango Doi said the process will start on the 26th of June to the 1st of July with expression of interest. He was speaking to the media in Chadondo. SEC is NRM's top organ charged with strategic guidance and decision making. Nominations will take place from the 2nd to the 4th. His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni will headline the roadmap with the picking of the nomination forms for the national chairperson of the party and party flag bearer this Saturday, the 28th. His Excellency will return forms and get nominated on Friday, July 1st. Meanwhile, nomination of members of parliament continue with more aspirants who believe they can raise the standard of living for their people and continue to return their forms in high gear. The president of the National Unity Platform, NUP, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu yesterday finally submitted his nomination papers to contest as the party's presidential flag bearer in 2026 general elections. The nomination exercise was conducted at the NUP headquarters in Makere Kavule, where the Electoral Management Committee confirmed that the nomination process for the party's presidential candidate has now been concluded, with Kyagulanyi emerging as the sole aspirant. And finally, from the local scene, State Minister for Public Service Mary Grace Mugasa has urged striking arts teachers to remain calm as government efforts to increase their salaries are expected to be fruitful by September 2025. Speaking at a press briefing held at Africa Public Service, speaking at a press conference ahead of the Africa Public Service Day celebrations, Mugasa reiterated that government's earlier pledge to enhance arts teachers' salaries within the 2025-2026 financial year. However, she revealed that budgetary reallocations have prioritized preparation for the 2026 general elections. And with that, we come to the end of our local stories.
Indeed, and speaking of the teachers, humanitarian teachers protests, it's on Thursday, which is today, that the Honorable Minister, J.C. Muyingo, expects a report from their leaders from their conversations as a fraternity. Now,
there was also some information that he said they had halted.
Yes, they had halted and gone into meetings, the leaders and their colleagues in meetings, where they are expected to present a report to him today, on Thursday.
I think it's now clear to them that the reallocation has prioritized preparation for 2026 general elections. Now that means
well, moving on to what is on the foreign scene, a senior Hamas official has told the BBC that mediators have intensified their efforts to broker a new ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza, but that negotiations with Israel still remain stalled. The comments came as US President Donald Trump said great progress was being made since Israel and Iran ended their 12-day war on Tuesday, and that his envoy Steve Witkoff thought an agreement between Israel and Hamas was very close. Israeli attacks across Gaza on Wednesday killed at least 45 Palestinians, including some who were seeking aid, the Hamas-run health minister said. Meanwhile, the Israeli military announced that 7 soldiers were killed in a bomb attack on Tuesday claimed by Hamas. I think great progress is being made on Gaza, and I think because of this attack that we made, President Trump told reporters in Brussels on Wednesday, referring to the U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities carried out at the weekend amid the conflict between Israel and Iran. Shortly after Trump spoke, the senior Hamas official told the BBC that mediators were engaged in intensive contacts aimed at reaching a ceasefire agreement. However, he added that the group had not received any new proposal so far. Now, work has begun on a controversial project to create the building blocks of human life from scratch. This is something that is believed to be a world first, and the research has been taboo until now because of concerns it could lead to designer babies or unforeseen changes for future generations. But now the world's largest medical charity, the Wellcome Trust, has given an initial 10 million euros to start the project, and says it has the potential to do more good than harm by accelerating treatments for many incurable diseases. Dr. Julian Sale of the MRC Laboratory of Molecular Biology in Cambridge, who is part of the project, told the BBC News that the research was the next giant leap in biology. The sky is the limit. I find the statement so wrong. But anyways, to everyone, perhaps the sky is the limit, but to me it goes above. But we are looking at therapies that will improve people's lives as they age. that will lead to healthier aging with less disease as they get older. But critics fear that the research opens the way for unscrupulous researchers seeking to create enhanced or modified humans. Dr. Pat Thomas, director of the campaign group behind GM, said, we like to think that all scientists are there to do good, but the science can be repurposed to do harm and for warfare. Interesting. It's like genetically modified humans. Let's see how far.
Create problems for ourselves.
Anyways, the world clearly is coming to its end. Let's come back to the continent. And South African court has halted plans to bury former president, Zambian President Edgar Lungu, at a private ceremony just as it was about to start. The news was only announced to mourners in a church in South Africa after a funeral mass had already finished. This is the latest twist in a row between the government and Lungu's family over his burial, after the family opted for a private ceremony in South Africa rather than a full state funeral at home. The Zambian government had filed an urgent case in the Pretoria High Court seeking to stop the burial planned by his family. The court said that the funeral would not go ahead following an agreement between the parties. However, it appears that any funeral won't happen until August at the earliest. The dispute follows a long-standing feud between Lungu and his successor, President Hakainde Hichilema, with Lungu's family saying he had indicated that Hichilema should not attend his funeral. Following Lungu's death in South Africa, aged 68, the family wanted to be in charge of the funeral arrangements, including the repatriation of his body, but the Zambian authorities sought to take control. Now, the things that bother Africans, I mean, how much money is being wasted in this particular state of quagmire between a family and the state. If the man doesn't want to be buried by you, it's okay. He's gone, live life. Anyways.
I don't think we are still Africans because
yes,
what held us as Africans, there's a respected dead bodies in Africa.
Yes,
the dead were highly respected in Africa.
Right.
And certain things would not be happening. But all these things,
anyways,
at the end of the day,
I surely hope that is not taxpayers' money that is being wasted and swindled left, right, and center into thin air, because it's all pointless if you ask me. But let's have a look at what is on the foreign scene, in the press today, Robert.
Okay, and I want to begin with the New Vision this morning, where we have voters' choice for woman member of parliament. Now the New Vision gives you who the choices are and which particular area is that. Now also Museveni directs Attorney General on Bararo. And Bobby Wine picks nomination forms for 2026. We have Uganda-born wins New York mayor race. Have you seen this person? He's more or less of an Indian. But the thing is Ugandan born.
Ugandan born. He was born in Uganda, stayed in Uganda until he was 7 years, then left for the US with his family, and he's been an American citizen since then.
But I think, why are we... Anyway, we saw Kenyans with Obama, but at least I think they had a better way of connection there compared to Onogotu.
Yet even then, the world will still recognize him as American
yes.
and not Ugandan.
So I'm very upset. Let me go even to the Daily Monitor. Yeah, Kenya is still bleeding. Kenya, that is in the Daily Monitor this morning. Kenya is still bleeding a year later. And why coffee prices are on a free fall across Africa in a solar-powered Land Rover. Wow, technology. And still in the Daily Monitor this morning, how farmers can tap into interest-free 175 billion credit. Now, if you're a farmer there, no interest on this money, why don't you go get this loan? Know how you can. Then gospel singer, okay, still now looking at Kenya, there's a picture there. 9 people killed, about 400 injured 61 arrested during the protests. Communications Authority disobey court after switching off TVs. Demonstrations unfold in at least 26 counties across Kenya. Okay. Now, the Daily Monitor, we also look at the Lizard. Now, what has Lizard today? He says, why coffee prices are on a free fall. This is economic sabotage. The Lizard there. Please fly us to our neighbors.
Indeed, and we're taking a 45-minute trip with the Uganda airline, I must say, to Kenya. And the headline is Black Wednesday. Echoes of June 25th wait for 2027. President Ruto and ODM Chief Odinga tell protesters, politicians. That is the main headline of the Daily Nation. And page 1 comment, Mr. President, stop descent into anarchy. Now let's take that trip and go to Tanzania. Fresh hope as government amends contentious tax proposals. The government has agreed to amend several contentious tax proposals that had sparked heated debate following the presentation in Parliament of the 2025-26 budget earlier this month. Also, in The Citizen, Samia, Africa now needs economic independence and transform farming ocean economy through tech, Tanzania urged. But also artisanal miners joy after gold levy slashed to 4%. Protests leave live coverage, ban on first anniversary of Gen Z demos in Kenya, and Yanga win 4th Premier League title in a row. That brings us to the end of what is in the dailies today. You can get yourself a copy to see all the stories that are in there. For now, let's have a short break and enjoy some music from a man who passed on yesterday, 25th June. Since 2009 is when he passed on. 25th June 2009, Michael Jackson passed on. But his music is still enjoyed by many, and this is one of the songs that he did make whilst he lived. Heal the World.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
The things Kenyans do that you can never do in Uganda, even when you're rioting.
Yeah, true.
Sister, I've been watching some of the footage coming in there.
My highlight from the footage is a young lady who jumped over an electric fence, like as if she was having a javelin.
Into State House, assumably, to get in there. Police officers being beaten, running away. I don't know how best to explain that, but if you do such a risk in Uganda, you live to tell, or even in the United States, recently when they had
or
riots,
even in Rwanda.
But the United States, I was shocked. I think I'll get his name before the show ends. When he came out and said, you throw a stone, well, prepare where they'll find you.
Right.
So there is something I don't understand in Kenya. But I want to talk about something that is beginning to worry me here in Uganda as well. Now, the Bararo in northern Uganda, let me use that word. Yesterday we saw President Museveni sign that is Executive Order 2 regarding the unplanned and sometimes indisciplined movement of Bararo. Now, these people are given an ultimatum to vacate northern Uganda. The president has also issued an executive order, but the determination they have not to leave, the determination they have not to leave, and some of the words their leaders are using. This you're calling for genocide. Supposing we find people in northern Uganda and western Uganda, they're so determined not to leave northern Uganda. And I don't know, with this executive order, the MPs of the area have called, the people have called. Actually, some wanted to deliver a petition yesterday to the Speaker of Parliament, but they were denied entry to Parliament. Now, I'm getting worried day by day. What may befall these people in case they choose not to leave, yet all is clear. One said, we've invested so much in northern Uganda, so we can't go. Others claim they own the land. I wish I could meet some of their leaders, because their facts maybe they have, but we don't have right. But when you speak, at least I've spoken to residents, leaders in northern Uganda, they tell you, no, these are all false allegations. But of course, when you have one side of the coin, I don't have the other, you can't have a conclusion. But what I've seen so far is the determination that they are having not to leave, despite all pressure for them to leave. Then on a lighter note, the campaigns are going to be interesting.
Very interesting.
Have you heard of this name? That is Wasukira Anthony. This man is campaigning to become the MP in Mbale Industrial City, but I think it's the height of this table. A very interesting character. So there was a burial yesterday in his area, and when the height surfaced, I know if Ruben met him, but I just enjoyed the humor around him. He's very, very, very short, I must say. Even has, I think, a kind of a baby face, but he wants to be an MP, and he's garnered. I don't know if people are doing it for humor or really they feel he can represent them. So I'm following him. I'm also enjoying his moves. And the first time I thought, is this a young kid that is, you know? Wow. But later I discovered, no, he's a man above 20 plus, and he's ready to contest. Winning depends on the people of Mbale City. Very
true indeed. And on the issue of Balalo, I think I would say that one thing for sure is our president has had values that he has stood for in all his statements, values that he has that have been his foundation in whatever decision he has made for the country. And I believe with the executive orders he has signed, it's still with the same values that were his foundation as he made that decision, and as he went to the bush and ended up becoming the president of Uganda.
These ones don't seem to be moving anywhere.
Well, we'll see. At least we'll see. His foundation is always the determinant of everything, and for us, as we always try to joke with our president, we're here as UBC TV to bring you the stories as they unfold and all the information and facts as they unfold for you and for Uganda. But let's have a look at what is on the local scene.
Well, let me start with the Balalo story.
Right.
Here where we see President Museveni, with immediate effect, banned the presence of Balalo in the respective areas and directed the Attorney General to draft a law that criminalizes the unsanctioned nomadic practice of the cattle herders. The President Museveni, in his executive order number 2 regarding the unplanned and sometimes indisciplined movement of Balalo cattle herders in northern Uganda, eastern and northern west parts of Uganda, has described their movement as primitive spreading of land misuse and disrupting the indigenous communities by free-ranging livestock eating up their crops. Meanwhile, Balalo cattle herders in northern Uganda, under the umbrella Northern Uganda Commercial Farmers Association, have petitioned Parliament over the proposed eviction of the non-compliant herdsmen known as Balalo in northern Uganda. They claim that evictions must follow lawful procedures, including court orders, notice, and compensation.
In the risks, and this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks, Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000, or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Hello, Kampala, Uganda. In response to the national call of strengthening the traffic security, Good Products Group HGO brand has officially launched the Rider Selection Campaign. Registration is now open. Visit www.riders.hgo.com. Complete your registration now for a chance to win exciting prizes, including motorcycles, exclusive HGO gift boxes, and official rider vests, all while promoting safe riding awareness. This is how to participate. Pay the registration fee, invite 3 friends friends to form a team of 4 and your registration fee will instantly be refunded. Begin your journey of honor today. Don't miss this opportunity. Join the challenge, promote road safety and become a pioneer rider. For details, visit the official Good Products website at www.hgo.com or call toll free 0800-335-555 or visit our offices at Kingdom Kampala 3rd floor to register now and win prizes worth millions.
Okwongera okuyiga ebikwata ku musolo n'okubisembereza abagusasula. Bannayuganda bangi balina ebibuuzo ebikwata ku musolo gwe basasula eri ekitongole ekiwooza KRA.
When we come at revenue, they tell us to clear Chitenge at 10,000.
Alikuwa nafika kwa mwingine URA na kurespect lazima mzee tuongee. Munaongee. Hakuna fika kwa mwingine na kamata faili yako naweka kwa drawer na
okutegeera obukulu bw'okusasula omusolo busobola okuyamba okuzza bizinesi yo n'okwewala okufiirizibwanga. Kati osobola okufuna okuddibwamu obutereevu. Sindika ebibuuzo ebikwata ku musolo ng'oweereza obubaka bw'obutereevu ne WhatsApp ku nnamba y'essimu 0790-14-88-87 olwo ofuna okuddibwamu okuva wa Kamisona General wa URA John Musinguzi. Laba amawulire gaffe UBC leero buli lwa bbalaza n'olwokusatu ofuna okunnyonnyola okulambulukufu okuva ew'omukenkufu. Buuza Kamisona.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, always good to have you on the show. It's UBC TV that you are watching here to inspire you, and the show is Good Morning Uganda. My name is Julie Natabamusisi. Time for the real I Am with Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, and this is where we get to engage in a discussion and share our 2 cents as well as yours. You can share your 2 cents as well. 0709-602-592 is the WhatsApp number that you must engage to share your 2 cents on what we are talking about. Now, World Environment Day was celebrated and it has focused on addressing the issue of plastic pollution. Now, about 600 metric tons of plastic waste are generated daily in Uganda alone, and only about 6% are collected for recycling. And in the discussion, as the day was commemorated, it was concluded that government should take serious action in making sure that it has a total ban on plastic use in Uganda, from production to its usage. But the question is, do you think Uganda is ready for a total ban on plastics from the process of production into the hands of the consumer? What is your take? 0709-602-592. Now, Robert, in your observance, what is the current status of plastic use and waste management in Uganda?
Well, first we must know that the activists are calling for amendment in the law, and they want to ban the production, importation, exportation of single-use plastic. Not all plastic, but single-use. Now, when you talk about single-use, these are plastics that you can only use once and throw away. You can't reuse them. They are non-reusables. Say the Kavera, these common plastic bags that after buying things, well, they're these white ones, they're the black ones. You can't use it again.
Yeah.
So they are saying if we continue producing this, if we continue importing it in the country, if we continue using it, then we are going to be killing our environment. Because when you look at our National Environment Act, that is section 76(1), you'll find that the law permits using, producing, importing plastics of above 30 microns. So it bans the production, the importation, the use of plastics below 30 microns and below. Now, using a naked eye, I may not know which qualifies for 30 microns. You may even ask a number of experts. Julie, I don't know. If you know when this law, I think it was 2019 when it came into place, and they were talking about a ban on plastics of 30 microns and below. Using my naked eye, I may not have justification. Tell, yeah. I may just assume now this white one where we put sugar that, you know, it's so thin. And maybe that is 30 microns. Then I'll have the black one and say, so activists, and I saw the executive director of NEMA coming out clearly and saying, because we can't use our naked eye, let's totally ban reusables, but sticking to 30 microns and below, we may not achieve what we are getting. And when we look at what Kavera has done, you talked about us producing about 600 metric tons, no, 6 metric tons daily as a country.
6%.
And only 6% is collected and recycled. Now that means, where does the rest go? It goes in the environment, and how does it affect? Blockage of our water channels, our water bodies. 2, the land. Uganda, many of us rely on agriculture. Now, Kavera does not decompose very easily.
True.
It takes a very, very long period, over a century, to decompose. Now that means it's affecting the soils. If we can't recycle what we are producing, then it goes to our water bodies, it goes to our soils, and at the end of the day, we are going to reach a time when we can't use our soils because the Kavera is there, it never decomposed, but also our water bodies. They're becoming this Kavera for aquatic life, for proper flow of water. Look at our city when it rains. If you look at what blocks our drainage channels, 90% are plastic bottles, non-reusable. 90% are buvera. Now, the city is flooding. When they clear these channels and remove the buvera, the plastic bottles, the water is moving. So it is a very big problem to us as a country. And actually, if we don't move and move very fast, because this is like the third attempt that we are seeing government activists come up and talk about banning. Previously, it was 30 microns and below, which didn't work at all. Now we are talking about total ban on single-use plastics. I want to tell you, I saw the pressure the business community put up. And I think we preferred money to the future of the next generation for them to live healthier and better in this country.
And speaking of which, how do you think this ban affects industries, especially those who rely heavily on plastic usage for packaging, for manufacturing, and all of the like?
Well, first and foremost, we must know that the people producing buvera, or single, because now we are targeting all single-use plastics, they have failed, and we don't have evidence that whatever is produced is recycled. Now, here statistics show us only 6% is recycled.
From 600 tons that
from 600 tons
are released daily.
That are released daily. Now, that is so little. Now, previously there was have a collection plan and a recycling plan. And many of these industries, when you go to them, they will have a fake way of showing you that this is recycling taking place. But many of them are not actually recycling. But because the law requires them to have how recycling part of what they are producing, or a clear plan that what you're producing is going to be used properly and disposed of properly and then brought back for you to use, they have failed. 2, I'm told that even these that are carrying on currently, single-use, say the buvera, the common ones, that they can still do better. They improve on their machinery, they can still do better and stay in business but just change. Like one person was saying, it's like when you're making bricks. If they tell you we need this size, you just have to go and buy a bigger, try to have a bigger size. They can do better. They have alternatives for their industry, for their production. But just because this is maybe cheaper and more on demand, and more on demand, that is why they are sticking to it, no matter with the weak regulation. So we can't say that they employ a lot of people. You know, someone was telling me that this industry employs a lot of people. But if you look at the advantages and the disadvantages, then they can also go to substitute products. Because you see, Kavera, or majority of this single use, we have an alternative. But as long as we still have an environment that allows the single use, then we won't go for the alternative. Let me give you an example. About, is it 3 years back, when we saw plastic bags, paper bags, you remember? Yeah. Some supermarkets had gone to paper bags. There's something that also come up with, I think, remember His Excellency called it polyethylene or something like that.
Polyester?
Polyester. They had come up, so you'd go to a supermarket and they wouldn't pack in Kavera, if you remember very well. There's something else they were packing in.
Paper bags.
And either paper bags or that polyene, or something of that kind, that they were using to pack, where you could bring it tomorrow. It wasn't single use. Yeah. So you'd take what you're taking. And also our craftspeople had begun getting some stylish bikapu, you know bikapu? Or you've never seen one?
I've seen one.
Okay. Now, they had started making some better, the tailors had begun coming up with alternatives. I remember I used to move with my...
Chikapu.
Not chikapu, because sometimes chikapu is mistaken. If you move with it in town, people may question. Most of those that are so much in traditional, they may wonder, what is he carrying in a chikapu? But I had some small bag that I had. I go to the supermarket, I shop, they put in, I go home majestically. So as long as we don't have a law, these alternatives are not going to be prioritized because the Kaveras are cheap, they are readily available, yet they are very destructive to our environment.
Right, we are looking at the idea of totally banning, especially single-use plastics out of Uganda, and we are sharing our 2 cents what we think about it, but you are also free to be a part of the conversation. 0709602592. Good morning, Robert and Julie. I and friends one time innovated an automated waste collection system meant for urban areas where plastic consumption is about 80%, but knowledge has less innovation support in our country. We still have a long way to go as a country to get rid of plastic. So let's focus on decentralizing plastic wastage management. This is Cuthbert from Mbarara. Indeed, this is where the government needs to come in to support.
Well, I must say
innovation.
We have the Innovation Fund in Uganda. But the biggest problem we have is people lack knowledge. And sometimes these monies go to the wrong people.
Yeah.
Because if a fund is there, there's money put in there. And you do not have, if your machine is worthy and solving such a huge problem, then you're a potential candidate to benefit from these monies, but sometimes our people don't know. But also second, my brother Cuthbert, we cannot think that we can go look at centralized collection, then all that. Countries that have tried to fight this have gone to total ban. We have a neighbor I don't want to refer to. Even if you come from Uganda with your Kavera, at the entry there, please leave your nonsense here. Doesn't work in our country. Have this, then continue. So sometimes we have to find solutions that are permanent, not solutions that are temporary.
Ones that are tolerant. Bad situation. Yeah.
Because we've seen the dire effects of these single-use plastics. So when we go to that, now let's do this, now let's do this, and with the challenges of enforcement, it is better we have a law. The law is very clear. Single-use plastics, those are evident. Anyone can know what they are. They are not allowed in our country. You don't import them, even if you don't manufacture them because you're not going to export them. You don't use them.
And speaking of the law, one thing for sure, as everyone we've hosted here has mentioned, that Uganda has beautiful laws on paper. In fact, one time I remember we hosted an environmental activist. She has an organization still in environmental activism. I remember the name Maureen. And she mentioned the laws are beautiful, properly written, but the implementation is the problem.
Implementation, and sometimes, let me say it, sometimes conflict of interest. I want to say that in my time as a journalist,
Right.
I think I've covered a number of stories. I once worked so closely with the National Environment, not NEMA, there's a private organ. I think it was headed by Frank something, I'll remember it. And also closely worked with now the Minister for Environment, Mama Mabira.
Mama Mabira.
But then we're referring her. And I was a very good activist when it came to the environment.
She was, yes.
Until when we almost entered Luzira for Mabira, that I said, Chirabo, go slow, these things. Because people had their targets, and for you wouldn't know, you'd think the cause was being active, yet others had been by Sawibala. Now, one of the things I recognized, that we have people who are doing businesses, or some who bring investors. Let me begin with investors. Now, an investor comes in the country and he's told that maybe but 30 microns, this, and someone promises them protection. And when they promise them protection, of course, these people are benefiting something. Now, enforcement becomes a problem. Some of these we talk about them, but they may never see the light of day because they have someone. One time when Peter Kawuju was still in KCCA as a spokesperson, Temi said, we are going to round up Chirabo, these people who build at night, and said, come on for us, bring your cameras, bring your recorders. Reached some buildings, and almost the team had to apologize for having gone to that premise.
Okay.
You get it? So, with the conflict of interest, unless we choose and say what is good for Uganda, but you're going to push these things, that is why it's not the first time you're talking about Kavera in this country. Actually, this is the third time that we are seeing the likes of the executive director of NEMA. We are seeing very many Kavera. One, it had reached sometimes, some ran to parliament. Sometimes some met so and so, others meet so and so. Now, when you still run things in that format,
with the Gamba Nogu.
With that form, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying where people know that they can,
have their own way.
Have their own way
through the system.
People invested,
right?
Because the reason these people are giving was, look, we've invested a lot of money here. Look, you're going to take jobs.
All right.
Look, then they would run here, there. And I'm sure, and sometimes I pity some people in these offices, that they are limited. They are limited. I saw Kawuju almost being told to once here, with us also, our cameras, and this is a spokesperson of an institution. He's carrying out a noble cause. So these are the challenges that we are having. There is that conflict of interest of people who are in authority and having some of these businesses. They find it very hard to allow such policies.
True. In fact, if you speak of people who own these businesses, I know a very powerful she contested for MP, woman MP, Rubaga, is it South or North? But I know she owns a company in regards to producing plastic.
So how is this going to pass? So these are the complications. But also the other issue is, and I want to talk about sensitization.
Right.
Our people lack knowledge sometimes. You see, when society and community is empowered, when people are empowered, given the right information, and they love their country, when President Museveni talks about being patriotic, he doesn't talk about just being in a patriotic club, we have allowance. No, he talks about love for the country. If we can love our country and you say, this is wrong, because the Kavera we are talking about today may not affect you, Julie, and me so severely. but the generation to come, if we don't do something,
and by the time
will be affected more.
it's for God and my country, that means your love has to start with God. If you love God, you're able to love your country and able to stand for what is right at all costs, no matter what. Looking at some of your comments, good morning, Julie and Robert. I think it's better they start with industries which produce these plastics. People always use them because they are available on the market and they have no better option. When you look into most of our drainage channels, you find the main cause of blockages are plastic. Secondly, some are manufactured using harmful chemicals, yet they use them to cover eats and ready food. Government has been preaching against the use of plastics, but no action has been done so far. So let them walk the talk. The earlier, the better. Cricket Derek Gagamel from Machindie, Luafu. And Julie, it's hard to stop because many factories are paying a lot of tax. It's a big business in Uganda today. 3, because of corruption. 4, it's only President Museveni that can stop it. People in Uganda are too corrupt, but don't feel the feel. I hope I get what you're trying to mean. But I also get your point indeed that it's a big business because there's a lot of tax that goes into it and people can't just stop their businesses just like that. Robert, as we begin to wrap this up, let's quickly look at some of the most common plastics that are in circulation in Uganda.
Well, we have the Kavera.
Yes.
That is so much in circulation everywhere. I see someone coming in with one also.
From all shapes.
From all, and readily
and
available.
Colors, yes.
2, these water bottles.
Yep.
I don't want to mention a brand, but water bottles.
Water bottles, yeah.
Bottled water. Those very... Though for those, there's some effort.
Of recycling, yes.
Recycling. I know, you know, the people they call Bakawenja. These boys
are, yeah, and speaking of which, how best can these boys be empowered? Because sometimes they are not readily accepted in communities as they collect these bottles. They are sometimes looked at as hooligans. People don't easily accept them. So I don't know, how best do you think they could be empowered to do their job?
How they could be empowered? Maybe KCCA will take them on, pay them some decent money, have
brand them, dress them well.
Yes. So that, because why would Natai run away from such a person? Those people work even at night.
They do. They even come
into many when driving.
They even come into people's
work.
homes.
Sorry, you find. I met one at 4 almost. And with this bag, said no, at night it is cool and you can collect as many and people are not...
Some of them even come into people's homes.
Yes, they
looking
do.
for plastic.
The bottles, now we have these disposable cups.
Coffee, the small coffee.
When we have parties,
weddings, disposables, yes.
If you looked at when the function is ended, disposable plastic plates, these disposable plates where you guys that go to, I want to mention these good places, and you have packed food. That thing, you can't use it again.
Yes, true.
So they're also becoming very common. I see you usually come in sometimes with coffee. You know, you use it once and you're throwing it away. So those are the most common. Ukavera, then you have the plastic bottles, these disposables. They are very, very common everywhere. And
also the era of convenience, by the way, the era, as we begin to close this, the era of convenience. Many times we have parties at homes, events, but who wants to get in the aftermath of an event to clean dishes? So disposables are easily available. You serve people and then dispose.
So now you're the people who do not think of a next generation, and you simply think of your convenience. Exactly,
because convenience is driving everything in the world, even the negative. And most of the negative. At what point is convenience costing us? That's a question Robert and I are leaving with you to chew on. At what cost is convenience? At how much is convenience costing you and I, Robert, as well as your children, especially your children, because you're leaving them and they're the ones running the world after you. That's it from The Real today. Up next is JMU Tourism Express. Good morning, Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Hello, Kampala, Uganda. In response to the national call of strengthening the traffic security, Good Products Group HGO brand has officially launched the rider selection campaign. Registration is now open. Visit www.riders.hgo.com. Complete your registration now for a chance to win exciting prizes including motorcycles, exclusive HGO gift boxes, and official rider vests, all while promoting safe riding awareness. This is how to participate. Pay the registration fee, invite 3 friends to form a team of 4, and your registration fee will instantly be refunded. Begin your journey of honor today. Don't miss this opportunity. Join the challenge, promote road safety, and become a pioneer rider. For details, visit the official Good Products website at www.hgo.com or call toll-free 0800-335-555 or visit our offices at Kingdom Kampala 3rd floor to register now and win prizes worth millions.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
Good morning and thank you for choosing UBC. My name is Zakia Lucky and we are on Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express. My face is just delighted with a smile because we are getting into the best part, which is food, and we are bringing it to you the cultural way. We are still digesting. You've seen us go through all these activities: poetry, pottery, art, and now it's time for cultural foods. With us are contestants from Miss Tourism Southwest, and we are getting to drive just to learn about culture in southwestern Uganda. We are in Kabale. With me is the lady that is going to take us through the entire process, get to understand what we are eating, get to know why it is eaten like that, why do we have to sit like this, why are we using our hands, not forks. And by the way, the southwestern part of this region has, rather the southwestern part of Uganda has a number of meals, but in this particular segment we have what we call empenjere that we're eating, that is maize and beans, and also the pumpkin that is locally known as a mozi or a chozi. So Aisha is going to be helping us understand how these foods are prepared, why are they eaten like this, and as we get to understand how culture is derived in the southwestern part of Uganda. Hello Aisha.
Hello Zakia.
Yes.
So I'm Aisha Nachibuka. Don't be surprised by the name. I'm Mchiga, I'm Uganda at the same time, but I've grown from the West, so that's how I come to be Mchiga mostly. I'm going to take you through the process of making the mpenjere and the chozi. So we first start with the maize. It takes a very long time to get ready, so we start with the maize before adding the beans. When the maize is fine, okay, ready, then we can add the beans. From there, it takes like a day, because now by the time you start preparing the maize, it's almost like 8 hours. Then you add the beans. For the beans, it's really easy. So you see the grains that are in. We added, in Luchiga we call it a churingani. It's called a stinging nettle in English. Then we also added this eshwiga, you know it? That's how we go to make the mixture. But this, the shwiga and the churingani, we add them later on, because I got to add them today in the morning actually. That's when I added them. And the best churingani and eshwiga, you have to let the sauce get done so that it acts like the sauce. And the benefits of a churingani and a shwiga, it helps in the digestion. It has vitamins. Remember, beans are rich in proteins, then maize with carbohydrates. So we have to add something to give us the vitamins. The pumpkins come in more of a small dessert. And the pumpkins help with vision. They help with diabetes. They help with prostate more for men. So we had to add it there. Then the bushera. This meal is always accompanied by bushera. That is our drink as the bachiga. Because the energy we use, of course, we need the sorghum there. So we have the bushera that accompanies the meal. And by the way, the pumpkin also helps us not to get hungry very fast with the mixture of the meal. So when you have the meal, it is hard for us to get hungry. So every time we had this meal, after a wonderful meal like this, we would jubilate by dancing. After the meal, we would have some dances around with the families. And mostly, we used to prepare our meal in this kind of pots. We have different pots as the Bechiga. So this pot with this kind of shape, that's the pot we used to use for cooking. Then there's another pot in the front, the one that has a very long neck, was used for drinking, and the small one. And then the bushera, mostly this kind of checker, was used for drinking also. This one was for the dads at home, the visitors, all these other bigger checkers. We used to use this for drinking bushera in Tuye or Mlamba, but we don't have those here. We have the bushera for the soft-headed ones. Yeah, roughly that's what we used to do.
Interesting. Most of you have been wondering where the Bachiga get all their energy. You just heard from the explanation, right from the foods that they eat. But I'm curious about the seating. Is this how the setup is supposed to look like when they are eating these particular foods?
Yeah, because, you know, by then, we used to sit as a family, mostly the kids. They would put for us on banana fibers or a wooden plate, then get you to sit around. So in that time, you're bonding with your family, you're enjoying the meal. Actually, the meal is more enjoyable when you're using your hands.
You talked about the dance that comes in after the meal.
Exactly.
Is that how every household had probably the meal? Was it in every household? After the meal, then you get to the dancing.
Yeah, we used to have those dancings. Actually, they used to have the dancings after the meal. Remember, there were dancings. After the dance, then the older ones, the elderlies, would sit around the fireplace, tell us stories. But every after the meal, you had to dance to at least appreciate the meal that you've had.
Interesting. When we get to the dance now, the dance was to appreciate the meal.
Exactly.
And this is the same dance that needs energy.
Exactly.
You have acquired the energy.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you wouldn't get exhausted or back to hunger after the dancing.
Not really, because you see, when I told you that the pumpkins, they help us not to get hungry very fast. And you see the way the proteins are laid there, the beans, we have carbohydrates, everything is in one meal. So it is really very hard for you to get hungry after the meal.
Interesting. That was it from the foods that you're getting to see on your screen. And by the way, in the southwestern part, we have so many other foods that would interest you. And for you as a traveler or even a tourist visiting this region for your very first time, make it a point to taste the foods in this area. It is the same area that is known to have the sweetest sweet potatoes. Talk about Irish potatoes, and those that are locally known as emondi, ebiribwa. Make it a point to visit that. This was just a sample of how much foods we offer in the southwestern part. I told you this is where I come from, and I can tell you it is the best thing that you can ever envision to try out. And for you wondering why this stands out, yes, there are sweet potatoes and Irish all over the part of the country, but it is very different when it gets to here, and that is why you find our sweet potatoes known as ebisanukire. I'll leave that to you as a homework. Then there's only one way to find out. Come and taste it. Well, we are coming in with the next segment that is still driving us into I Am My Culture. Stick around. have eaten, you've had it all how it's done culturally in the Wachiga. You get to see the foods, and you had it also that they get to the dance just after eating to celebrate and be happy, bonding, togetherness. And with me is Derek, who is a culture dance choreographer. He's going to take us through this particular dance, which is called a Chizino. So you're going to get to know about it and get to understand why this dance is actually danced with energy, the jumping, why the hands are raised up. How are you, Derek?
I'm alright, madam.
How are Sivirota? Yes, we're happy to have you on the show. So please take us through the Chichiga dance.
Thank you. So as she has said, our traditional dance of Chigezi, the Wachiga, we dance a Chizino. Yeah, that's the name. And we usually emphasize stamping the feet up and down. So twamanyisa ngo twamara kurya twahaga turi koresa amani. Yeah. So we jump in levels, high and up. Then we will be lifting our arms kwereka nti tujya abatunje turatungente nitwe. Yes.
Yes, it's a powerful dance. You got to understand that it's danced with a lot of energy. You stamp the feet on the ground and then you jump high. And he also mentioned how you use your hands to show that you have gained the strength, of course, from the foods that have been eaten. You will get to see on the screen, just like what you get to see, the dance is being danced with a lot of energy and happiness, like you had it from previously having eaten the food. So we are still on Good Morning Uganda. Thank you for joining us. And that was it from southwestern part of Uganda about I Am My Culture with the contestants of Miss Tourism Southwest.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
Well, I must say it's really good to see Zakia Lucky in her Chichiga element. A very interesting video to watch that was, and a very interesting segment of I Am My Culture. Uganda is blessed, I am telling you, very, very blessed. Different cultures, versatile, and yet all uniquely beautiful. Indeed, I Am My Culture. Time for GMU business, though. I wonder what the business culture is, but one thing for sure, it has a lot of numbers and lots of paper to count. My name is Julie Natabamsisi, and starting off with matters security, Namaiba bus terminal attracts hundreds of travelers every single day, making it a high traffic hub that demands heightened security vigilance. And in light of the recent terror threat at Kalerwe Market, the importance of public awareness and consistent security checks has become even more urgent. The authorities at Namaiba have implemented and maintained robust security measures, including surveillance cameras and emergency response systems to safeguard commuters and staff alike. Our reporters visited the terminal to assess how these security protocols are being applied on the ground. All right, moving on. Uganda has hosted the inaugural Middle East Africa Digital Transformation Summit at the Kampala Serena Hotel, bringing together leaders, innovators, and policy makers to foster cross-regional technology exchange and digital benchmarking. The three-day summit, running from June 25th to 27th, was officially opened by Prime Minister Robina Nabanja, representing President Yoweri Museveni as guest of honor. The event drew dignitaries including Joyce Sebugwawo, Minister of State for ICT and National Guidance, and Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, Minister of ICT and National Guidance, who underscored the urgent need for the Global South to accelerate digital adoption. Under the theme, Driving Digital Transformation for a Connected and Inclusive MEA region, the summit spotlights collaboration in policy, financial technology, cybersecurity, administration, and policy service delivery, Participants explored how digitization can revolutionize bilateral trade, enabling seamless cross-border transactions and boosting economic integration between Africa and the Middle East. Organized by High People in partnership with the COMESA Business Council and Uganda's Ministry of ICT, the summit aligns with Uganda Vision 2040 and the East African Community's Vision 2050. It aims to position Uganda as a regional digital hub, leveraging technology to drive sustainable development and inclusive growth and shaping a digitally empowered future for Africa and the Middle East. And moving on, the Uganda Registration Services Bureau has unveiled the inaugural edition of the URSB Case Digest, a groundbreaking development set to reshape company and intellectual property law in Uganda. The launch event held at the URSB head office in Kololo was graced by Justice Mike Chibita of the Supreme Court of Uganda. Justice Mike Chibita officially launched the 2025 edition of the Uganda Registration Services Bureau Case Digest, describing it as a critical tool in the ongoing transformation of Uganda's legal landscape. The digest is expected to make a significant impact on the business community by distilling key rulings and legal principles. This will foster predictability, consistency, and confidence in Uganda's legal frameworks. With the launch of its first ever case digest, URSB aims to strengthen legal research, support cases to justice, and provide clarity for both the legal fraternity and the business community. Available in soft and hard copies, the digest also sheds light on emerging legal trends and gaps that can guide future judicial decisions. This initiative is a timely intervention, especially as Uganda's justice sector continues to grapple with challenges such as case backlogs, delays in resolving commercial disputes, and inconsistent rulings, all of which continue to undermine public trust. Well, now let's have a look at what the Forex rates look like as of 25th June 2025. The dollar opened at 3,592.45 and was selling at 3,602.45, and by midday it had dropped to 3,588.18 and selling at 3,598.18, and by end of day it closed in at 3,588.41, a little increase there, with selling at 3,598.41. Looking at the British pound, buying at 4,888.13 and selling at 4,901.75, and the euro was buying at 4,167.57 and selling at 4,179.19. The Kenyan shilling at 27.76 and selling at 27.84, and the Tanzanian shilling dropped massively to 1.34 and selling at 1.34, and the South African rand buying at 202.04 and selling at 202.60. Well, that's it from GMU Business. Up next is the agenda. Now, if you are an academician and a researcher, this next conversation is for you. So save the number 0709 602 592. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Dondoro by a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Hello, Kampala, Uganda. In response to the national call of strengthening the traffic security, Good Products Group HGO brand has officially launched selection campaign. Registration is now open. Visit www.riders.hgo.com. Complete your registration now for a chance to win exciting prizes including motorcycles, exclusive HGO gift boxes, and official rider vests, all while promoting safe riding awareness. This is how to participate. Pay the registration fee, invite 3 friends to form a team of 4, and your registration fee will instantly be refunded. Begin your journey of honor today. Don't miss this opportunity. Join the challenge, promote road safety, and become a pioneer rider. For details, visit the official Good Products website at www.hgo.com or call toll free 0800-335-555 or visit our offices at Kingdom Kampala 3rd floor to register now and win prizes worth millions.
Okwongera okuyiga ebikwata ku musolo n'okubisembereza abagusasula. Bannayuganda bangi balina ebibuuzo ebikwata ku musolo gwe basasula eri ekitongole ekiwooza URA.
When we come at revenue, they tell us to clear kitenge at 10,000.
Alikuwa fika kwa mwingine URA na kurespect lazima mzee tuongee. Munaongee. Hakuna fika kwa nyingine na kamata faili yako naweka kwa drawer na
okutegeera obukulu bw'okusasula omusolo busobola okuyamba okuzza bizinesi yo n'okwewala okufiirizibwanga. Kati osobola okufuna okuddibwamu obutereevu. Sindika ebibuuzo ebikwata ku musolo ng'oweereza obubaka bw'obutereevu ne WhatsApp ku nnamba y'essimu 0794-18-87 olwo ofuna okuddibwamu okuva ewa Kamisona General URA John Musinguzi. Laba amawulire gaffe UBC leero buli lwa bbalaza n'olwokusatu ofune okunnyonnyola okulambulukufu okuva ew'omukenkufu. Buuza Kamisona.
Juko. Yo. Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
The government's core mandate is to maintain law and order, safeguard citizens' rights, and provide essential public services.
Remember, one of the pillars of a roadmap is innovation and entrepreneurship.
There has been this question of how are you protecting our indigenous seed?
It's going to be a tall project that answers somebody's question.
For the past 20 weeks, the front bench has brought you insightful discussions on governance, security, healthcare, justice, and commerce.
When you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers, you bring the case against him, the judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time.
We remain committed to keeping you informed and engaged on key national matters.
So these are huge, these are powerful organizations which now Uganda chairs. Why don't you come together?
If we haven't migrated to the e-card because of various reasons, including that not all the people of Uganda have smartphones.
You can sit in your house, apply for a passport.
If you have a Ugandan who has a successful logistics firm in the US, it means he can come to Uganda and do a lot more.
Now airing every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with me, Jethro Kasaiji, your interface with the government only on your public broadcaster, UBC, Inspiring Uganda.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present.